Hi, Danny. We are at the end of season one of Let's Talk Neuroscience.
We are.
How does it feel?
Oh, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, hasn't it? It was a real explosive start, I would say.
Yes, I think unexpected.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah, what happened at the start? Give us a little summary for anybody who wasn't watching.
Well, the way I remember it is that we had pre-recorded a couple of episodes. We were going to take our time
Yeah,
and have a think about how we wanted to kind of launch and pace the topics and those kinds of things. And
yeah,
then one of our wonderful guests, Dame Uta Frith,
yeah.
who we had an episode with her already recorded, went and did some interviews. And so
Yes.
her critique.
Got a lot of attention.
She did, and her critiques of the autism spectrum, really hit the social media pages and the public discussion, and so we
We had
thought
this
we
interview
should.
pre-recorded, so we thought maybe now's a good time to put it out,
Yeah,
didn't we?
we thought we should try and I remember us sort of saying maybe we could offer some nuance to the conversation and maybe a bit more context to Uta Frith's points that she was making in the kind of more print interviews.
Yes. Yeah. So did it work out that way?
Well, I think we got more reach than maybe we thought we would have done in,
Yes, that's certainly true. Yes, in
launch.
fact, I have to say my concern putting it out mostly was, is anyone going to want to listen to this? Because we are unknown. It was our first podcast episode. We didn't have any kind of back history. I
Yeah.
think my concern was, are we going to have five listeners?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and so we definitely don't have that problem now, do we? But, I think we would probably both agree that there's pros and cons to starting with such a kind of a controversial subject
yes.
matter, I suppose. And I know that we've had a lot of feedback, both positive and critical feedback
Yep.
about kind of the nature of the conversation, and
Mhm.
also our lack of challenge, I suppose, came up quite quickly, didn't it? So we
Yeah.
were
Which actually
forced to
was a
think about that
deliberate
quite early.
choice, wasn't
Mm,
it? Because I suppose we were not thinking about that episode with Uta Frith as a standalone episode, although it came out that it seemed that way for people because it was our first episode.
yeah,
But we were thinking about it as part of a wider sort of arc, is how I would say, it, or a
mm,
thread of episodes, all of which have very different guests, and all of which we would try to bring a kind of open curiosity to.
yeah,
That was what we were talking about, wasn't it? Appreciative inquiry, wanting to
yeah,
find out why they think the way they do, how it fits together for them.
yeah. I mean, I do think I envisioned something a bit more interactive and a bit more, with us challenging and a bit more kind of debate style initially. But I remember we had a conversation quite early on around the need really to let people
Oh,
really express their perspective, and for us to sit with that, as hosts, and for the listeners to sit with that, and for it to be a more of a long form conversation, that expands and unfolds over time, and not trying to resolve all of the conflicts and dilemmas and contradictions in each episode. So
because that's not possible, is it? And also, I think the choosing of a sort of long form podcast like this was deliberately because there's such a lot of short form stuff out there, actually. Short
mm,
form, polemical, combative, polarized. There's loads of that on social media, but I thought we needed more listening without a defensive reaction. It's easy to become defensive, isn't it, when you listen to someone that you don't agree with?
yeah,
And actually, we need to, I think, I just felt, yeah, I do feel, and I still feel that we need to listen with open curiosity. Uh,
yeah. And I
but I
do
thought,
think I do think that across the whole of the first series,
yeah,
we've portrayed such a wide range of perspectives, and lots of different lived experiences and professional perspectives. And I think we've made a really good start with that. So for any listeners that have followed the whole way through, I think they will be seeing lots of challenges to different ideas, just in the different perspectives that we're showcasing, really.
because what we did at the beginning when releasing Uta's episode did shape that whole first season because
Mm.
six people
Yeah,
dropped out
yeah,
immediately,
true.
including episodes we'd already recorded because we'd released that episode.
Mm.
So that meant that the shape changed because there were also people then who got in touch and said, I'd
Yeah.
like to tell you what I think, which was actually amazing. I think for
Mm.
me, it was a very intense time, but I had lots of people got in touch with me personally because I did put out a thing in social media saying
Yeah.
we would welcome people who want to talk. And I did have informal chat with all of those people. So I had quite quickly after that happened, quite a lot of discussions about what they thought about what had happened. And they
Yeah.
were all so different.
Yeah.
Again, there was no one, on you kind of got the impression on social media that there was one way to think about it, and that we had got it wrong, and
Yeah.
that we needed to be re-educated. And then I talked to all these people, many of whom were autistic or had
Mm.
ADHD. That wasn't what they were saying at all. They all came up with,
Mm.
they all said very different things. And quite a few of those people have come through to be some of our podcast guests in our first series, and more of them are coming up in season 2 as well, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember saying to you, have you selected a range of perspectives, of different perspectives from the people that have got in touch with you? And you said, no, actually, this is
No,
quite an
yeah,
organic response that we've had here. And it's just naturally a very broad range of perspectives and opinions on those early episodes, such as each
yes.
episode.
It was amazing. And yeah, we had people who came very much from a lived experience perspective, and then we had people who came from a professional perspective, and
Yeah.
people who brought those two things together. Yeah, it's been an interesting and, as you say, quite a sort of roller coaster start,
Yeah.
which I think neither of us really.
No.
But I don't know. Would you go back and do it differently if you could?
No, I think it's turned out well. I think, and I'm really keen to hear from the listeners. So we're going to come on
Yeah.
to that in a moment, aren't we? And invite some questions. But I think my perspective is that it's better than I anticipated, and that it has unfolded organically,
Uh-huh.
and that the format has been, it's been shaped by the listeners and the responses that we've had. And I think that has taught me lots in terms of kind of hearing different perspectives and sitting with the discomfort and the frustration sometimes around things I might disagree with. So yeah, I'm happy. How about you?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there was a lot of vitriol around that time.
Yeah, I think particularly directed at you.
Yes, and that I wasn't really expecting. I think that had two sides to it as well, because I think people saw that response as well. So when people were getting in touch to want to have a podcast, they weren't just talking about things Ut expressed then, but also observing the online dynamics that are happening within discussions about autism and neurodiversity. That was really useful and really
Yeah.
interesting to have that right in the room from the start. You know, it's like it meant that we didn't have kind of a few episodes where everybody was finding their feet in a way, because we'd established that there was controversy in this area
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Those early people who said, "I'll come and talk to you," I just really appreciate them
Yeah.
massively,
Yeah.
um,
Me too.
because it was a big step of faith. It was a big to do that, when I in particular was being portrayed as abusive and harmful.
Mm.
I think it takes a lot to say, actually, we're going to come on and tell you what we think.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank all of those people who did that. I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
So the point of this little mini episode that we're recording was that we would like to hear a bit from listeners, wouldn't we? We'd like to know if there are questions people have that they'd like to see answered, that they'd like us to answer ourselves maybe, or that they'd like us to be bearing in mind when we're thinking about our guests. We cannot
Yep.
guarantee that we'll ask any of your questions because we don't know what they'll be. But also, I suppose we're just seeing whether there'll be enough questions out there for us to do an episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose one thing to say is that we've got a sort of mini series of just 2 interviews before
Oh yes,
our
special
next
guest.
full series. 2 special guests. The first episode is this week, or it might be last week, depending on when
Yeah.
this goes out. um, with you.
Yeah.
With you telling your story about your journey into clinical psychology, and then your relationship with this topic, and then it's me
Yeah.
next week, hopefully. So yeah, so listeners will have an opportunity to hear from us and to hear about our position within this topic, I guess, and within this space.
And why we felt it's important to start, part of it, isn't it?
Yeah,
And then we're going to have another series of guests.
we are.
Probably another 10, maybe a couple more.
Yeah, do you want to give the listeners a bit of an idea of what we've got
What
coming
we've
up?
got coming
And
up. Well,
if there's a sort of slight different tone
different
to the
style.
conversation. Yeah.
Well, we've got, I think thinking we've got some. I think there are some really interesting people actually. So we've got educational psychology for bringing that kind of perspective from schools.
Yeah,
We
got a good
have
themes for.
it is, yeah, it's been a theme, but I think it's really useful to talk to somebody who works in that context. And I suppose one of the themes that's come up just over the first season, hasn't it? It's been the difference between children and adults
Yeah,
and how things are different and how we often maybe merge the two together and talk about autism or neurodiversity without appreciating just how different those two worlds can be.
yeah, and we've got some really gritty conversations, I think, coming up, and really kind of getting into that tension.
Yes, I
Yeah.
think so. We've got Helen Pluckrose
We have.
to talk about critical social justice theory and how it applies to neurodiversity. We have got a couple of clinical psychologists who hold that dual role of being a parent and a clinical psychologist, talking about neurodivergence and what they have done, how that has affected their families, and what their sort of perspective, and how that professional and personal merging.
Yeah.
We've got somebody talking about overdiagnosis, is a hot topic.
Yeah.
Pediatrician, going to talk about that. What else have we got? We've just got lots of really interesting conversations. I'm actually really excited. Looking through the list, I'm like, this is going to be a great second series.
Yeah, we should probably say we've recorded the second series.
They're all recorded. We just
Yeah.
haven't quite
We've
got them
been
ready. Yeah,
very, very
we've
busy.
we have.
And I
Exactly.
think, what I was saying about the first series really is kind of, here's this person talking about their perspective, and it's sort of a bit fragmented, I would say, in terms of perspectives. I think there's a bit more bringing together of ideas in season 2, where we wrestle with
From
some of the
us, because
tensions.
we're kind of saying, we've heard this from one person. What do you think about that?
Yeah, a bit more
Yeah.
from us, a bit more back and forth in terms of conversation, and a bit more wrestling with the kind of nuance, the tensions, the complexity, the dilemmas that people are kind of considering, those kinds of things.
I think we would really like to hear from you.
Yeah.
If you have some questions, please, you can put them in the comments on our Substack if you're listening to this on Substack. If you're not listening to this on Substack, you can go and subscribe. You could email it to us, both of us website. I think I have one, naomifisher.com. Do you have or naomifisher.co.uk? Do you have a website, Danny, where they can email?
I do. Mine's Danielle at danielledrinkwater.uk.
So you could email us if you don't want your question to be out there in public, or you could put as a comment. But either way, it would just we'd really like to know what kind of things are going on in your head whilst you listen to the episodes. What things, and also I suppose we'd like to know what kind of topics would you like us to cover more going forward. Are there people who you think would be really good? I've already had a few suggestions of people actually, and we do reach out to people. Not everybody says yes, but yeah, if you know someone, or if you yourself would really like to come on and think you've got another interesting perspective.
Absolutely.
We can't promise to do it very quickly right now because we're having a bit of a pause now from recording, aren't we? I think recorded a lot of episodes, quite a short space.
Yeah, so please do get in touch with questions. If we've got enough questions, we will do a Q&A session where we can kind of answer some of those and try to respond to some of those and share our own thoughts. And yeah, any ideas about what else, how you'd like us to go about kind of future episodes of the podcast, what you want from us really would be great.
Great, thank you. And Danny, I'd just like to say thank you for doing this podcast. It's been a roller coaster, but it's been really good.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great. A real labour of love, I would say.
Absolutely.
All that editing.
Yes.
Okay.